Hello, this is Brett Jones. I am a faculty member of the theater department. I'm also program director of the filmmaking department at Wichita State University. We recently did a collaborative project with the theater department and the filmmaking department to produce a 3-episode sitcom. We did this in February of 2020. I have the directors, the student directors for episode 1 and episode 2, Sydney Alder and Emily Kirkman, and I wanted to talk about their work in the sitcom from the director's standpoint and everything that they had to do. So I think a good thing to start off with is, what did you two do to start off your pre-production before you actually met with actors? And go!
Well, for me, I did a lot of just rereading the script, mainly the first one and then the other ones. And then I just took a lot of my own notes and just kind of replayed that over and over again and just thinking about who these characters really were. That was like my main pre-production.
Yeah, I also just read the script. I obviously, having episode 2, needed to read episode 1 just as much as episode 2 because it led into it. But I think I tried to not overthink it too much with this one, because since it is television and having a different director for each episode and not knowing how the actors are going to take on these characters, I didn't want to have this predetermined way of how, everything needed to go. And so I kind of didn't look too far into it and waited until I saw how episode 1 unfolded to really get into how episode 2 would go.
Okay. So when you actually got to work with the actors, talk a little bit about that. Talk about your process. Now, there were kind of 2 phases here. You had a phase, I think, which was 2 days, where it was just you and the actors. And then we brought in the director of photography on Wednesday, and then we brought in the entire film crew on Thursday, and then we filmed it on Friday without an audience, and then we filmed it on Saturday with an audience. So you as directors went through several different phases in 6 days. So just kind of walk through how each of those phases worked for you, because I'm sure there'll be some similarities, but I know that there'll be some differences as well.
Definitely for the first episode, I wanted to just sit down on the first day. I think it was either the first and second day I did a lot more table work, just because I love asking questions and just having one-on-ones, but also letting the other actors be present so they can all understand where everybody's at. And also kind of share where I'm at too, and then maybe they can surprise me with some stuff. And then after that, just getting on their feet, working the space, or just seeing what comes natural to them. I feel like I gave them guidance to an extent, but I just let them play around as much as I could. And then when we got the camera people in, that was when they were fully on their feet, and the camera crew could kind of somewhat figure out what they wanted for shots, even though I don't think they really decided until the next day, which was Thursday, I believe, because wasn't it Thursday we had all the lighting and the sound too?
No, I mean, they kind of did a mock run through on Thursday. Nobody was recording.
Yeah.
They were just trying to get ideas for placements for things, the boom and the cameras and stuff. It was Friday that they actually recorded.
Friday was crazy, but that was definitely fun though. A lot of energy going around. Different from Saturday though, with having an audience, being aware of that and communicating to the floor managers was a little bit difficult, but really cool. I don't know if that really answered the question, but I hope it did.
Well, that's fine. That's fine.
Yeah, I feel like I was kind of lucky because when I did my episode, everyone already had their rundown of how they were doing things in the first week, and so people were a little bit more aware of what their roles were. But for me, started with a table reading and just kind of getting a chance for me to hear how their characters come out reading this script, and then after reading it, asking them questions about like, what is your specific goal in this episode? What are your intentions? And then reminding them, sometimes we would kind of lose that throughout rehearsal. And I would say like, what was your character's intention? Like, what would we talk about? And they would say, oh yeah, you're right. Like it was this. And it would kind of help them shift their focus in that moment for what their character's purpose was. And so I think that was really helpful. And then, yeah, on Wednesday, once we started getting costumes in, I didn't really change anything unless it was like necessary. So like on Wednesday, we had to change a little bit of, I forgot Nora's character's name already because this was so long ago.
Marla.
But Marla, yeah. So she had a dress on and we were going to like have her get kind of pushed over on the couch, and that blocking needed to get changed because like with the dress, it just like didn't work. And so that was interesting. Wednesday was a lot more technical with things. Then the rest of the days were a blur, honestly. They went by so fast. I don't know if I can distinguish what happened on what day, but it was really cool.
Yeah. Well, I feel spoiled by you two because I got to go the third week. I should have gone the first, but I ended up with the third week, which was fine because you guys had already prepped them. And so the third week, I mean, it just ran like a well-oiled machine. I'm not joking. And the reason I knew that is because the film crew, who you couldn't get to say 5 words to anybody, was all joking and cracking up and telling jokes and doing funny faces and like, what? You guys haven't done this for 2 weeks. And they were all relaxed. So it was really, I got spoiled because you guys had broke the ground already with that. So when I directed them, I had them do a read through and then we just immediately got on our feet. I said, go, let's play. Just play. It was very frustrating, I think, for them, but I told them before we started the rehearsal process, I said, you got cast because everything about you is what I want in this part. And they were like, oh. They wanted to completely create something completely outside of themselves. I don't want any of that. I just want you up there. Because to me, they all embodied the parts. And the 2 guys that did the warm-up act, we talked about it, Julie TJ and myself. And they said, there's always a little bit of jealousy about casting. And there's always thinking, oh, I could play that part better. But both of them said about Ben, Kieran, they said, there's no way I could play that part. So that was kind of neat for them to see that they embodied it. And I think that our direction didn't change from show to show, meaning we didn't come in and say, okay, suddenly you have to wear all white and a big cowboy hat and, that type of thing. We were very consistent in the direction, and I think it showed in their performances. So I thank you for that because you really broke the ground. It was unfortunate for Sydney, I think, for the first week because you mentioned the chaos.
There was so much chaos.
I have very rarely been around that kind of creative chaos. And on the one hand, it kicks your anxiety levels through the stratosphere, but on the other hand, you can't get enough of it because there's just so much cool stuff happening, so much buzz. So there was one night I lost my cool and I thought, crap, I think I may have ruined Sydney's directing because I barked at you about eating up too much time. And you were just like, and I thought, dang it. As showrunner, it's hard to make those decisions, but part of it was fixed by the second week when Emily got everybody because everybody knew their job. So it was harder on you because even the staff and the faculty, we didn't know what was going on. So I think I got pretty close to, I thought, I bet I'm going to have Sydney shut down. So I went away and just watched. And thought, if she shuts down, and have to go in and play cheerleader.
Yeah, I definitely had a moment where I was about to just like go. That's why I kind of had to step away for a moment because like as stressful as like the week was, and being it the first sitcom project that we've done, it's understandable. But also with all of the the pressure with that, I was just like I was still excited and I really wanted to do it because like I don't know, it just meant a lot to me, and I think that's why I was on the verge of just blowing over because it's supposed to be cool and fun, and it was, but there was a lot.
Did you experience that, Emily? Did you experience any kind of great anxiety during your week?
No, I think there was a production meeting we had that I called for at the end of, I think, Wednesday or Thursday, and it was just kind of like a have everyone go around the room and explain your role again, because like I wasn't here. You guys all know, but like I wasn't here. Explain what you're going to do between takes, explain who do you go to if something's wrong, because I think that was something that was expressed from week one was people thought they knew who they needed to go to, but then it was like a lot of going to the wrong person. And so we just wanted to make sure that like people knew like you're really not going to come to me about anything, you're going to go to the floor manager, or you know, if you're working with props, you're going to go to like this person or that person. And it just, I think that helped a little to have everyone out loud hear like, oh, this is for sure what they're supposed to do, just to give some accountability, I think, as well.
Yeah. So a big part of what directors do, and we stress in all the directing classes, is communication. So talk about that. Talk about how it was for you to communicate. Did you have a group that it was easier to communicate with? Was there a group that it was more difficult to communicate with? Did you have any complete breakdowns? And if you did, how did you deal with that? Just deal with communication.
Yeah, I think the actors would have been the easiest to communicate to, and I think that's because they felt the most comfortable. And of course, I'm talking week 2. Like they felt the most comfortable because they had been in every rehearsal versus the camera crew just coming in towards the end of the week, or you know, a lot of the technical people being super involved from the beginning, but not being in the space with everyone as much. And I think the actors just physically being in the Wellsbacher that long, it was just easier for them to know what they were doing. I think the hardest thing for me, I think, like being a film major and like being a director on film shoots, not television shoots, I feel like I get a little bit more, I don't know, I like being able to talk directly to my actors, and like having to be in like the back room and say something through a headset that goes to someone else that then goes like, I don't like playing telephone. And so I like being able to have a conversation with my actors. So I don't know if I was supposed to do this, but sometimes I just asked our floor manager, like, hey, can you tell, you know, Nora and Kieran to come back here real quick, because I wanted to be able to like face to face say like, okay, how do we feel that went? You know, it feels hard to through a headset say, hey, can you ask them how they feel about that? Like, I feel like I'm not going to get a clear answer back, or it's going to be cut up a little. And so I think that was really hard for me, is I wanted to be like physically in the space and like talking to them.
Mm-hmm.
So
I definitely felt that same way about the headset. Just because I know we had to look at the monitors to see like what the final type of look it would be, but I also just love being where the energy is and being in the back. Like, you know, there's a whole bunch of people back there and they're all excited too, but I just want to be where like the action is, you know, and feel more hands-on with it. But I was thankful that we actually did have really good communication with the floor managers. I think once we figured out how to wire the headsets, it helped a lot. And we got to talk to the camera people, which was like great. I think with talking to the actors, it also was a little bit easier. In the stressful moments, it wasn't as much because I had full faith in them, so I wasn't concerned as much, but mainly with the technical side. I feel like after them, probably the camera crew was a little bit easier to talk to, because I would talk to Nathan, the DP, and then he would kind of relay the other information as well. But it was kind of cool being able to talk to different groups and see what was going on, though. I didn't really know much about how the costuming continuity would work or the props continuity work. So that was really cool.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, that's good. I totally agree about there are times you feel like you needed to jump out there because I did that. There was something that happened, and I just said time out and threw the headset off and ran out there right quick and talked to him, then ran back and then we went on. But I tried to keep that to a minimum on the Saturday. So I totally know what you're talking about. That sometimes you just need to not use a device and go out there and see the person's face and just communicate with that. Sometimes you don't. Sometimes you don't. What was the most difficult thing for you to deal with or direct during your week?
I think mine was probably the burrito props because my episode was all about the food poisoning.
Yeah. She froze on us. That's the glories of Zoom. Sometimes that happens. She'll pop back here in a minute. Go ahead. What about you?
The hardest or most possibly difficult to direct. I know at the very beginning of my episode was always kind of a little bit of a stump with Mirta and Kieran. And I know Mirta always had like this one line that she was like, I don't know about this line. And so I was like, okay, just trying to help her work out how is it that she would either get that or understand where that line was coming out of. And we played with the different things, and like there was this one time I was like, that's it, like that's exactly it. And like I think once she like felt that or like noticed that or just like had like this little bit of change in like the way that she said it, it all started to click. And that I feel like took a while because like to me with the first scene it just had to be either full of energy or just enough where you're going to want the audience to keep watching. And that was my main concern.
Yeah. And so it's a good feeling when you get that taken care of, right?
Oh, yeah. It was such a proud moment. I felt really, really happy as a director.
Yeah. Oh, you did jump in. See, I said when you froze, I said, that's the joys of Zoom. That's the joys of Zoom. So go ahead and finish your thought.
Mine?
Yeah.
Sorry, I completely missed yours, Sydney.
No, it's cool.
I think I was talking about the burrito props, and I think I started saying by how a lot of the decision on if they would be real or not was made before I was even slated to direct the episode. And so it was a lot of confusion, I think, for me, because I didn't want it to be like a stressful thing, you know, being told by someone like, oh, they're going to be fake. And I was like, cool, I'll direct it in a way to make sure no one takes a bite. It'll be fake. Cool. And then being told by someone else a day later, like, oh, well, you know, if you want them to be real, it can be. And then it just kind of got tossed around back and forth to the point where I think people were almost trying to tell me like, it can be fake, or like it has to be fake, or it has to be real. And I was like, I from the start said fake was fine, but you know, I think it just got really confusing because they thought that like a character had to take a bite out of it. And I was like, here's the way of like TV, like no one actually has to take a bite. It is just implied that they are eating them and then you move on and they're sick. So I think that kind of concept of like, you know, being scared about continuity was like really heightened during the second week just because of those burritos. People were scared about things getting on costumes or, you know, continuity with a bite. Like if they take a bite and we have to do it over, you know, we have to switch out the burrito. And so that was fun. And I feel bad for the actors too, because I kind of almost gave them like two versions of the same blocking because I was like, at this point, I don't even know if you're
right.
a real or fake burrito. And things even changed, like I think on Friday, you know, they ended up being wrapped in aluminum, which was like actually really great because then we didn't even have to like mess with like opening them or anything. And it was all perfectly fine at the end of the day, but I think the most difficult thing I had to deal with throughout the week because I didn't even know how to block it almost. just
Yeah,
not knowing.
it is really funny to think that adding food becomes this huge thing, but
Mhm.
it will make it a huge thing. Because we did in production meetings, we talked about, well, you do understand if we are eating, you're going to have 25 burritos ready to go. Can you have 25 burritos? And they're thinking, oh crap, can we have 25 burritos there that we can keep fresh and get warm? And like, yeah, you got to think about that. And also too, the, like you said, the costumes. I mean, there's so many factors that go into it just for food.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Because
wasn't it?
if you do anything to that burrito and we do another take, we're starting from scratch.
Right. I even had to be really specific with the blocking, and I was
Yeah.
like, okay, Mirta, you are the only one allowed to put them on the plates. But Kieran, you're the only one allowed to actually physically pick it up, and that was just to limit anything. And they were frozen burritos, but with handling a frozen burrito over time, like you never know. Like, so I think that was like the most clear and direct I got with them that week, and they were like, oh, okay, like we promise we won't touch it. And I was like, I just don't want to mess with it. So
Yep.
yeah.
Wasn't it was it week 2 or week, I don't think it was in my week, but there was a spill on Marla's dress as well.
Oh,
Yeah,
what?
Was
I
it your week, Brett?
I can't remember whose week that was, but there was a spill on a dress,
Hmm.
and then there was also a spill on set.
Mm.
Uh,
Oh.
Kieran knocked a coffee cup over in the living room table, and it's funny because whoever edited that episode, they put that in there. And I sent a
The
note and said,
spill?
no, we don't want that. Because there would have been no way to cover that up, because the other cut would be to a cup that hadn't been spilled. So, yeah, there was a little spillage.
Yeah, I guess like it's kind of interesting just how you work with that, because I know on the dress it's like think they had the extra, and so it's like you just do a switch really quick and then clean up the mess as much as you can while we can still get takes. It's a lot.
So, the classic question for everybody is, now that you've done it and now that you've learned certain things, if you had the opportunity to do it again, how do you approach it differently? What do you do differently?
I think for me personally, like I think I would have had a better understanding of what was happening if I was in on the meetings earlier. And just like, and not that, and typically on a TV show, like you wouldn't get that. But I think the director still has an understanding of what the show is and how it's ran when they go in. But I think, this isn't from a pre-existing thing. This was brand new. So we didn't really know what to expect. And I think not knowing what everyone's roles was, not knowing how things would get done, probably made it a little harder. And I think just like being in on the conversation earlier would have been helpful.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely agree with the meeting thing for sure. But I think also I've realized that sometimes uh, when it comes to the theater, I tend to shy away from using my voice. And that's the biggest thing that I think I would definitely change is if I need to say something or if I have a question, I'm going to either ask it or say it. And I'm not going to feel bad about it or feel anxious about it, because at the end of the day, there's a job that needs to be done. And if it's not getting done, then there's an issue. And I just want to be better about taking care of like problems and using my voice.
Yeah, I remember there was one night that we had to clear the deck so you could use your voice.
Yeah.
Like, hey, shut up. And Sydney jumped in and finally, you did use your voice that night. I don't know if you remember. And it was so much better after that. It's like, okay, she's telling us what we need to take care of, but let's do it.
Because like usually I will, like in other working situations, like I have no issue like with that, but for some reason I don't know, when it just performance people, maybe that's what it is. But learning how to communicate with different types of people is important. So definitely working on that.
Yeah, that, as I said earlier, when we teach directing, that ends up being this unit that you come back to all during the semester, because that's all the director does. And you're dealing with so many different types of people. Film people are not like theater people. And within your theater people, your actors are not like your designers, and your designers are not like your tech people. And everybody's got a different attitude and a different persona and a different vocab. And you just have to kind of learn to pick up on that if you can as a director. Yeah. It's huge. And it takes such a long time. And you always learn because you're always dealing with different people. So do you want to direct again? And if so, what would you want to direct?
Well, I definitely want to direct again. I mean, that was my first ever big directing experience. And as crazy as it was, I enjoyed it enough to want to do it again. Plus, I'm getting the certificate, so I definitely want to direct again.
Sure.
So possibly maybe your thing, Brett, if I can read that thing, which I'll read it. Don't worry. But also, I kind of want to direct like little like side things. I don't know. Kind of like work on some small projects and then maybe see bigger projects later on.
How about you, Emily?
I mean, obviously I want to be a director. I try to get in as many directing gigs as I can. Yeah. I think when it comes to like TV specifically, I'm more interested in like the writing aspect than I am the directing.
Yeah.
But I do like directing like short films and, you know, other stuff like that. So, and I would love to direct a play as well if I ever get the chance.
Sure.
So.
Sure. Well, great. Is there anything you want to add to your experience? Anything that you learned? Anything at all that you want to throw in as we wrap this up?
I'll definitely say that whoever is interested in getting involved, there's always a job or like a hand that's needed. So like, don't be afraid to reach out because there's people that need people.
Yeah.
And yeah, that's true. Like it's good to start on a set, you know, in any role, because then you kind of see how it works. So especially if there's incoming freshmen and stuff like that, I think some of them maybe want to jump right in and like do like those like directing cinematography roles, but it's okay to not right away, to just kind of see how it goes first.
Yeah. The cord wrangler is not a very prestigious job, but man, the stuff that you can learn, because you're right out in the middle of everything. Your one job is keeping all the cords neat, but man, you're in the middle of the action. So you're exactly right. I mean, take a position. You will learn so much just by being there. Well, I really look forward to sharing the sitcom with everybody. You two did a really good job. I'm very pleased. I think you'll be very pleased with the outcome. The look and the sound of the feel is just like a sitcom. I think you'll really get to see your hand in the work, to see that you helped bring it to life, that you really helped shape these performances, because on the acting side, they're marvelous. Having seen them now, they're so distinct. Those four individuals are so distinct. And to see the different ways that you guys played with the comedy was really fun as well, because you had different types of comedy. Emily's was a lot more physical than what Sydney was dealing with. So it was really neat to see the contrast. So my congratulations to you both. I think you were great choices to direct. And so we're going to wrap this up. I think we've been doing this about 30 minutes. That's long enough. So Sydney Alder, Emily Kirkman, thank you so much. And we hope that everybody gets a chance to go out and have a look at our sitcom that was made between WSU Theater Department and WSU Filmmaking Department, called Thrilled to Announce.